Hi, my name's Keith Cooper, Northlight Images, and I've got a new printer to test. The other two EcoTank printers I had here have been swapped out for this, the 18100 or ET-18100, L something in other parts of the world, but you'll have to look that one up. Some first thoughts on getting the printer. Well, I've set it up. It had been pre-installed, so I haven't gone through the ink loading process. I will be doing a video about the installation process in more detail. But I've installed the driver and software here on this iMac here, which is running macOS 13 or Ventura, the latest version of it. The setup of that went straight through. It installed the correct driver. I did not accidentally install the AirPrint driver, so no problem there. Here on my older MacBook Pro, this is a few years old, this is running 1014, so a few years out of date, but I've set it up on this. I set up the settings to this. This is connected wirelessly. There is no Ethernet on this. There is a USB, but this is connected wirelessly. And here I've got Epson Print Layout running, which is going to be the software I suggest you try for getting your printing started for this. Quick overview of the printer. I'm going to be doing a detailed review. I'm going to be looking at printing on particular media, and I will be producing probably quite a few ICC profiles for different types of media. I'm going to give this one a good go because this is the first what I would call out-and-out photo printer for the EcoTank range. The 8550 is a great printer. It has a pigment black, it has a dye black, and it has the other cyan, magenta, yellow, and it has a grey ink. This one, however, has all dye inks, so it has a black, light cyan, magenta, cyan, yellow, and a light magenta. So light cyan, light magenta. That gives a good range of colour. We'll find out exactly what when I start to do some testing on it. But differences to the other EcoTank printers. There's obviously no scanner in it. I've mentioned there's no Ethernet. There is no powered drawer. You have to pull the drawer out. When I first printed on this, did a test print and setting it up, it told me there was an error with the printer. The drawer wasn't. It's not a motorized drawer like you get on the 8500 and 8550 and some others. Well, whatever. I had to go for the message that appeared on the computer, on the driver here, because there is no display on this. We are back to some buttons and some lights. Now, I'm in two minds as to what I feel about this. I'm used to having displays on printers that give me ink levels, they tell me media that's been chosen, what I've set. I can go things, I can do cleaning, I can run alignments. All those things have to be done via a computer. Now, this has got quite a lot of mobile device support, so you can do, there's a control panel, so you can do stuff through mobile devices as well. But as it stands, the lights here don't necessarily mean that much to start with. I was able to get it to connect to wireless network pretty easily when I was doing the install. You just go to epson.sn, put your model number in and go through the procedure. I say, on both these Macs here, it works just fine. It is supported by Epson Print Layout. I've got it running here, and it has, I note, installed a few basic profiles. Now, I've had a look at doing some, few tests, nozzle checks, all the usual things when you get a fresh printer. I just open up the lid here. One thing, if you use the web access for this, it has its own web server and you can connect to it. It will, for doing admin functions, it requires a password. There is a piece of paper stuck on the inside here, and it does say password and then a series of numbers of a password. I wouldn't have found this without reading the manual that pointed out where it was. I guess there was probably a label somewhere, but if you need a password for accessing it, it is stuck on a label just here. As with the other EcoTank printers, it doesn't know its ink levels. When you top the inks off, you have to actually specify that it's been topped off so that it knows the levels to try and do its calculations. Has a maintenance cartridge, the same sort as on the other EcoTank printers I've looked at. And on this one, the pickup roller for feeding the paper through is actually a user replaceable part. You can take it out and clean it. So if you're getting paper feed issues, it's worth having a look at this little feed roller here. I'll cover stuff like this when I do the actual review and look at different media. There is no, as far as I can see, straight through print path, so you can't print board on it like you can on some of the others. It has the same sort of print head, I believe, as the other models. So there is, if you're shipping it, there is a little blue tab that flips over to lock the head in place and stop the head from sliding about. Open that when you do that for printing. So all in all, it looks like a pretty standard EcoTank printer. The paper. Now, unusually, when I normally enter. Oh, there we go. So, normally, when I put a piece of paper into a printer, I set the paper type, the media type. Now, I can set that on the software as well. And as force of habit, I always set it on both because I'm using different papers, I'm testing things. It stops me getting things wrong so often. Here, I'll have to be that bit more careful because I can put any old paper in the back here and this doesn't care. There are potential warning lights here and patterns, and I saw back in I had a quick look through the manual for it, and there are manuals. There's a PDF manual and a web manual. There are various things that are accessed by pressing down two buttons, holding them for a certain amount of time. I'll see how much that really annoys me, if at all, when I actually get some testing. Feed at the back here, obviously it takes, this one's a bit stiff still, there we go. There's the feed. It takes A3 plus paper. I think it takes longer paper as well, so we'll have a look at doing panoramics. So there is the paper feed. It's got the normal rails that you slide backwards and forwards here for putting your paper in. That's where you load it. That's where the print comes out. It also has, for those of you still wanting to, it'll print onto CDs or DVDs. And it has the option for printing onto ID cards. Now, I've never seen any of these ID cards that will fit this, but apparently there is a type of ID card you can get for it. And you can, well, print ID cards to your heart's content for whatever use they may be. But anyway, that slides in and it prints on this. I'll have a look at this when I do the review properly. Setup in general, no problem at all. It's the actual ink. I looked at the manual for it. The actual ink settings just follow through the stages of the manual. So the easiest way is just to go to epson.sn, enter in your model number, which is ET-18100 18100, and follow the instructions there. Windows or Mac, it will just work on it. I've got this here for a few weeks to test. I'm going to be doing all my usual tests for black and white, for colour, for different things. Looking at different types of media, different sizes of media, borderless, non-borderless, all the usual stuff I look at. The image on here is my standard test image. It was almost always one of the very first images, proper images I print, and I printed it from this. And here we have it on Epson Premium Glossy. This is using the installed Premium Glossy profile, so I've got no profile specifically for this. And it's very nice. In particular, because a lot of the printers I used, or used like the big P5000 here, pigment ink printers, if you print on a glossy paper like this, you get gloss differential, so you can see where the ink is on the paper. Well, this print, and it's on an Epson branded premium glossy paper, has absolutely not the slightest sign of gloss differential. Just from this, I'm going to suggest that if you're interested in glossy prints, this will beat the Epson 8550 quite comfortably. Now, I'm going to have to do obviously testing measurements and things to see whether that is so, but that is one of the most glossy prints I've seen come out of a printer like this on a paper like this for a long while. looks like the dye-based ink set works very well on this. I'll be testing it on art media and other things as well, so we'll see what happens. But if you've got any questions, let me know. The more questions people ask me, the more things I can remember to test before the printer goes back. I'll remember most stuff, but it's people's questions that really do make a difference. So there we have it, a potentially rather nice looking printer. Epson ET-18100. I've decided what I'm going to call it yet. I think the 18100. Who thinks up numbers like this? But anyway, by the way, if you're curious about the Epson EcoTank numbering system, I did a video relatively recently that looked at the range of Epson EcoTank printers, the ET numbers, as to what they signify. And still, it was a week or two ago, and I've forgotten most of it already. You really ought to think of a better system. But anyway, initial setup, absolutely great. First print, very impressive. So we'll see what comes of it, and hope it will be of interest. Thanks for watching.